Welcome to Biz Dev Live. My name is Cameron Toth. I am your host. We are going to talk to Mark Savant today. He hosts the After Hours Entrepreneur. He is somebody that is prolific on YouTube. You can reach him at Mark Savant Media. He really, you're going to see from the sound that he delivers today, he really knows what he's talking about. He knows how to talk about it. You're going to be really impressed with his technical knowledge. We're going to hear his story, all that and more right after we come back from the Biz Dev thing.
Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T.
Mark Savant is a digital media expert and agency owner. He helps business owners build brand and stay top of mind in less time. He hosts the top-rated podcast After Hours Entrepreneur, and his YouTube channel has over 500,000 views. His passion is to help you grow your influence with digital media. Please welcome to the show. Thank you for being here, Mr. Mark Savant. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Cameron, what is up? Excited to be here and talk shop. This is the number one place to be right now if you're looking to grow your influence on digital media. So let's go, Cameron. Let's go.
Yeah, man. So tell us what you're doing. I know I just said that you have the podcast and you're on YouTube. I've started, just over the last year, and I recognize the power of media cachet, the power of the experiential piece of doing this. I've turned into a graphic designer because of what I've had to do with YouTube thumbnails. Talk to us about just what you're doing right now in terms of your media onslaught on the world and how that's helping other people.
Yeah. So really what I do at the heart of Mark Savant Media is I help business owners and entrepreneurs show up more places with less time commitment. The reality is, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, they want to focus on their product. They want to focus on their clients. And it's really difficult to keep up with all the changes. How do I keep up on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram? What's up with this new Clubhouse thing? And so what I do is I figure all that out. And then I create the resources and infrastructure so you can focus on business. And I can help you build out your media company build out your media impact, because let's face it, if you're not showing up where people are, you're dead. And it's almost impossible to show up in all these places unless you're in it all day, every day. And so that's what I do. I help people create this anchor content, which can be distributed across multiple platforms all at once. And I think it's probably the most important thing you can be focused on in 2021 and beyond is how can I reach more people with less time? So that's what I do.
I love it. And I'm definitely on board with the idea that every company needs to be a media company.
Yeah.
I love the piece where, you talk about, photos of yourself and things that you can use for your media content, whether you're, somebody that's really into the retail and Instagram is your jam. I love LinkedIn. There's so many people that are, watch podcasts are hot. I think one of the things that really affected my decision-making process last year was understanding when Joe Rogan sold his podcast to Spotify for $100 million, and I don't need $100 million. Give me $1 million, give me $100,000 for something that I am creating and that I enjoy doing. That's amazing, right? That's absolutely, it's inspiring and it's motivating. So talk to us about this story. Like, how did you go down this path? How did you get into this? Why? What's your background in? Tell us the whole story here.
Yeah. So it's an interesting story. I started out on this path, get the college degree, the white picket fence, the family, the dog, all of that. But what I realized, was that I wasn't thrilled with what I was doing or where my trajectory was. I love when Patrick Bet David, I've been reading his book here, your next 5 moves. And when I started looking at my next 5 moves, I said, where am I going to be at in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? And I had this kind of this aha moment. I was sitting next to my grandfather, and he's in his 90s. I'm sitting next to my grandpa. He opens up this old scrapbook. He says, "Hey, Mark, come sit down next to me." He opens up the scrapbook. And he starts going through the pages of his life. And as we're going through this, I'm seeing all these newspaper clippings and old photos. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to have to do this one day. And what do I want my life to look like? What do I want my impact, my history to look like? And I recognized that I need to make a change. And so I started trying all these different things, Cameron. I was looking into opening up my own insurance agency. I was looking into, book writing and authorship. I was looking into franchising. I tried Amazon FBA. I tried all these different things. And for me, that aha moment, my aha moment, I think, was at a conference, and I was listening to Gary Vee, and I love Gary Vee. Gary Vee talks all the time about some really important stuff. And he said this thing when he was leaving his keynote. He said, "Make more content," expletive. I'll keep the expletive out, but he basically said, "Make more content." And that was like, yes. Historically, everyone's worried about showing up on the radio or on television, but that's not where people are. People are on YouTube. They're on Instagram. They're on Clubhouse. They're on all these new platforms. And so I said, how can I start really building up my personal brand? And I started podcasting. I started video podcasting, just doing these Zoom video calls with amazing people. And it's evolved a lot. My first show was all about fatherhood. It's called The Awesome Dad Show. I got a chance to meet with NFL players, presidential candidates, really, really influential people. And I said, this is awesome. I love this. And I just started diving in. And over the course of the next couple of years, it evolved into what I do now, which is helping people do the same thing. Basically, people reach out to me and say, "Mark, I love what you're doing. How can I do that? What can you do for my business, for my company?" And so I've been onboarding people, and it's just been, I guess the rest is history. It's been a really, really wild ride, and it really fills my cup. Helping other people really fills my cup. So I'm just honored to be here and help.
So you really blew through that story. So I want to kind of break it up a little bit. So what was sort of the thing that said, all right, this rat race, this isn't for me? Because podcasting and going down this road, I can certainly see the value of it. I'm here speaking with you, and I don't know that our paths would have crossed, or even if you would have been willing to give me some of your time. And I know that's what you were speaking to, but it's this getting comfortable. I know, if you talk to people, there's a lot of people that understand that public speaking is one of those biggest fear kind of things, and it's doesn't seem like everybody really can do it. I'm doing things like I'm in Toastmasters so that I'm not filling in every piece of sentence with, right. So there's those challenges to actually getting yourself there. What gave you the confidence and sort of inspired you? I deeply felt the story of going with Grandpa and looking through and, knowing that you wanted to make an impact on the world, but what got you from, following a career, following the, picket fence thing that you mentioned, to podcasting? Because it is a little bit of a different road. And I think it is intimidating for some people, and takes a little bit of courage to sort of jump off that plank.
Yeah. Well, the number one fear that people have is public speaking, closely followed by death. So people are more afraid to speak on stage. And I get that. And you brought up a really good point, Cameron, which is getting comfortable with discomfort. This is something that this was another kind of turning point for me. I was on an airplane going to Jamaica with my wife on our honeymoon, and I was reading The 4-Hour Workweek. And Tim Ferriss was talking about get comfortable with discomfort. I was like, yes, this makes so much sense to me. And it's just so important that you're continuously trying new things. The world is changing so quickly. If you're still sending out postcards and putting up, billboards, like, you're in big freaking trouble. You're in big trouble. You might not even know it yet. I
want to shout out, because it's a good book, worth people's time. This is the book that he's talking about, The 4-Hour Workweek, and it really does talk about thinking about your work differently. Keep going, Mark. I just want to throw that out there.
I will point out that's probably, for me, the most influential book I've ever read, maybe next to like the Bible or something, right? But it's so, like, the concepts that Tim wrote about 10 years ago are so applicable still here today. So it's a really fantastic book. To answer your question about public speaking, I enjoy it. I live off it. I thrive off it. Every time I go live, I get this gut wrenching feeling in my stomach where I feel like, oh, I'm so nervous. I'm not sure if I'm ready, but it always goes fine. It always goes great. And even when it doesn't, it's still okay. But so this is, I think, is really interesting as we're growing up, as we're developing ourselves. It's sometimes easy to miss cues, right? Self-awareness is, I think, extremely underrated. People are always chasing what someone else is doing, but being self-aware as to what my strength is, what I'm excited about, is really important. And when I was going to college, I was going to Florida Atlantic University. I'm getting my degree there in business. The times where I felt the most alive were the times where I was presenting to the class. I had my slideshow up and I'm going through it. I felt alive. But then after college, there was none of that. I was going into this insurance agency. I'm just running the day-to-day operations, which is a great career, by the way. Nothing wrong with that. But for me, I felt like I missed that level of self-awareness, right? The thing that I really enjoyed, the thing that really made me feel alive, I abandoned. Okay. And that's because I was chasing the white picket fence. I was chasing the easy thing. I was chasing what was very obvious. But I don't think life is always obvious. I think it takes self-awareness. It takes trying new things and failing forward. I got to be honest with you, Cameron. I failed a lot. I failed probably already 10 times today, and it's only 11 o'clock, but it's about learning from that and growing and being self-aware enough to lean into what you're great at and what you enjoy.
Do you feel comfortable maybe sharing maybe a couple of things? Because I know for me, even just over the last year, and I definitely stood on the shoulders of giants. I was looking everywhere I could, Googling a lot, YouTubing a lot, trying to figure it all out. And then even then, I'm getting online. I was doing, StreamYard kind of stuff like this. And I'd be interviewing somebody. And so, Mark would be over there. His stream would be great because beautiful thing about StreamYard or Restream, right? It's hosted in the cloud. And then here I am, I'm the host and my stuff is going up grainy. And I was trying to figure out, I was like, my download speed is fantastic, but my upload speed was like less than 1 megabyte per second. I'm like, what, and I didn't understand, so I had to figure all that out, and I had to call Optimum, who I was paying for more, but they weren't giving me. So then they had to go fix it. It wasn't easy, but we finally got it done. So that's sort of a silly kind of technical thing, but was there things that sort of, as you were going that you just had to figure out and you were like, oh, why didn't I know that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, anytime you're jumping into a new venture, you're going to have failures and you're going to learn from those failures. That's really what's important. And going into something, understanding that. Now, you can really save yourself a bunch of time by paying a guru or paying a course or even hiring an agency like what I run. You can save a lot of freaking time. Okay. But not all of us have time, or excuse me, not all of us have the money to hire someone or hire a firm or pay people thousands of dollars to learn. So listen, the school of YouTube, what we're doing right now is completely free and we're dropping a ton of bombs. I mean, just about every day I'm on Clubhouse hosting these fantastic rooms, and just the amount of learning, the amount of execution that's happening there is absolutely spectacular. So, I mean, I'm trying to think of a specific time where something just completely blew up in my face. I haven't had any.
I love it because it's hard too. I know sometimes I've sort of tried to focus on some of these things because I want to have these teachable moments. But I think one of those things in entrepreneurship is, and it takes like this positive mindset, right? Because you are going to fail. And if you focus on the failure, then you're not really moving forward. If you say, all right, I failed, I fix it, and I move on. I mean, I come from the events background, so we don't spend a lot of time thinking about what didn't work. We just fix it and we move forward because there's, people depending on us to make the event happen. And I feel like the entrepreneurial journey is a lot like that. We don't spend a lot of time on, the spilt milk. Oh, that happened. Move, fix, keep going. Right.
And that's the spirit of business ownership and entrepreneurship. It's, I'm going to keep trying this new thing. There's a new software, there's a new platform, there's a new thing that's out. I'm going to try it. I'm going to screw it up and I'm going to be a little bit better the next time. Yeah. And over time that compounds.
So I want to, to the point of providing value, right? Maximizing your time and reaching more people using digital media. Talk to me about how you're helping people do that. How have you done it yourself, and how are you helping people do it?
So there's a few different ways that I help people, either, through coaching or done for you type of services. But at its heart, this whole thesis of how can I reach the most amount of people with the least amount of my time investment is really important. And it comes down to creating some sort of anchor content. So like we're doing now, maybe a live video stream or maybe a video podcast, some sort of anchor piece of content, because what you can do with that content is you can chop it up, reformat it, optimize it, and then redistribute it over all these different platforms, because it's really hard to scale one-on-one client calls, right? It's impossible to scale that unless you're hiring a huge team. But even then, they don't have access to you. But when you set up this infrastructure of a live or of a video recording, even if you're not comfortable, your first videos are going to be pretty bad, but when you start to go through this process, it magnifies. So I'll just give you a perfect example. I just onboarded a new client this week, and he's sending me over video content, 30-minute long video sessions, just like we're doing here. And then what my team does is we go in and we take the best parts from that and we chop it up and reformat it, optimize it. We put in great intros, we put in little effects and things like that. And then we set it up to be optimized on all these different platforms, because what you do on Instagram is different from what you do on YouTube. What you do on YouTube is different from what you're doing on TikTok and different from Clubhouse. And let's be honest, you're a business owner. You're trying to grow a business. You don't have time to do all that. But what you might have time for is once a week, record a 30-minute video and then have someone help you pump that out to a lot of different people. So that's really what my focus is on. And this is completely executable. Another thing, I actually just spoke at PodFest this week, and my conversation, my talk was all about virtual assistants. You can build out an entire infrastructure. You don't have to hire an agency to do that. You can build out your entire infrastructure within your company. Like you see, like Tim Colson says here, Patrick Bet David, just like PBD does. You can build out an entire infrastructure within your company, but then that's another thing for you to manage and whatnot. But I think that moving forward over the next 5 to 10 years, the most important thing you can do is figure out processes, systems, and platforms. How can I spend my time as wisely as possible? Because it can, I tell you what, and I'd love to hear in the comments here, have you ever been at this point where you just feel like you're on this hamster wheel of content, commenting, responding, sharing? It's absolutely exhausting. But if you have the right systems in place, it makes it a lot easier. And that's really what I'm focused on, is helping people get off that hamster wheel, focus on your business, and reach more and more people. Because you could probably speak to this as well, Cameron. So this is the other piece of magic that comes when you start optimizing these processes, is all of a sudden you start getting connected to people you would have no business connecting with. I've been on stages with Sean Cannell from Think Media, Pat. I've done collaboration with Pat Flynn, with Evan Carmichael, and now with Cameron Toth, right? So that's kind of the magic that happens when you focus on this media creation. It's the collaborations, it's the attention, and it's the expertise that comes along with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love, it's been university for me, and I don't know that that's going to make sense for somebody that's not doing it. But when, I do this daily, so and that's intense for some people, and it's just how I've pivoted for my business. But it's also something that I really enjoy, because my happy place is around providing opportunity and education. I love having business conversations. So this is something that gets me up on a Monday morning, excited to do it. So that's there, right?
And that's self-awareness. That's recognizing, I enjoy this. It's working. I'm going to go deeper. Not everyone might not have that experience. Not everyone might want to go live on 5 different platforms, 5 days, 6 days a week. So I love that self-awareness, Cameron. That's really important.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And then, but for folks that are like, at that tipping point, or maybe they're trying to decide whether to lean out or lean a little further in, when you commit to it and you're doing it, because in the beginning I was talking to the camera, I was talking to the abyss. I didn't have a lot of guests on the show. I was writing down my content, planning it out, making sure that I had something to talk about and I was delivering value. But as I built up episodes and had the show, it was easier and easier to get guests to come on the show. And that was exciting. And actually, just as a content tip, the show is a lot easier when I have a guest on, because I don't have to create content. And so I think that's something that I don't know, I know that if you're in the podcasting community, I think that that's a fairly well-known secret, but the idea that if you have guests on, it really makes the content easy, because it's not like you have to sit out there and plan and make sure that you have your speech and you have examples to show and you've built animations, and it can get crazy to actually try to create an episode. And I know that you do that for some of your episodes. So I'd love to talk to you about how you actually go about the content creation, because I know that not only do you do it for yourself, but you do it for other people.
Yeah. So, I mean, and listen, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but at its core, I think creating some form of anchor content is really important. So, like a video podcast, again, is just a really, really great thing to start. In to your point, Cameron, you build momentum, right? It's really hard to get that snowball going at first. And it's going to be a really tiny snowball. But as it keeps rolling down day after day, week after week, month after month, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It gets easier and easier and easier. But even at the beginning, you're still making connections with people. Like without the podcast, I would probably not know who you are and you wouldn't know who I am. And we just go about our lives, right? But now because of the podcast, now we're connected. Okay. And we have a mutual respect. We have a mutual a mutual goal, right? Which is to help each other build and grow and help other people. So that's certainly a big part of it. But to your point, another type of anchor content that I'm really, really excited about right now is short form vertical video. Okay. And right now it's March of 2021, but short form vertical video is insanely powerful because it's so easy to repurpose. You know, this goes on YouTube Shorts. It goes on TikTok.
Explain that for folks that are like, what is he talking about? Vertical videos? Is that landscape versus?
Right.
Talk to us about vertical video.
Yeah. So, I mean, to keep it as simple as possible, there's vertical style video, which you watch vertically, or excuse me, horizontally. Horizontal widescreen style video is going to fill up your whole screen here. Vertical style video fills up your whole screen here vertically, right? And you know, we can get into the specifics and technicalities of the formatting, everything, but basically it's getting in front of your phone just like this, recording a short video. It could be 60 seconds. As long as it's under 60 seconds, it plays. Okay. Because now you can take that short form video, you maybe, dice it up a little bit, optimize it. But if it's under 30 seconds, it's going on Instagram Reels, it's going on TikTok, it's going on YouTube Shorts. You can even use it in your stories. So what I've been doing is sitting down, and you can check this out on my YouTube channel. I'll sit down for 15 to 30 minutes at the beginning of the week, and I'll record a few things that are really on my mind. And then I'll chop those up into 5 or 6 videos. And then my team just distributes them across the web. So vertical video, super big on it right now. And that's something I think that everyone can scale out pretty easily just with your smartphone and a $20 lavalier mic. And it will hit. It will hit. I mean, I'm reaching thousands and thousands of people.
So I think a lot of people are struggling about what to say. And then that gets into, going back to what you said earlier. All right, so I got to do this and how often that I got to do this. And, I heard from somebody else, I'm supposed to be engaging in the community and going into other people's comments so that I can engage community. And then I got to follow up on my emails, and then I actually got to get work done at some part in the day. So how do you recommend people actually go about this intentionally, doing it in a way that actually makes sense for them and their business?
Well, I'll tell you what, I love this question. What am I going to actually post about? What am my content going to actually be about? And there's different ways that you can execute on this. But the reality is, when you're first starting off, you're probably not going to know exactly what to be talking about. But over time, what you're going to find is people keep asking you the same questions over and over and over. And so what you want to do is you want to answer those questions in the form of video. So now, like for example, I was hosting a Clubhouse room last night. We had, Halata was there. There was just a ton of people. Even Damon John was in the audience for a while. So what happened is, after I put out that piece of content, I started getting a bunch of DMs. People are messaging me, emailing me, DMing me. They're asking me the same questions over and over. So what I can do is, now that I have a video library, specifically on YouTube, but this works for other platforms, I have a video library. And I say, listen, I can answer this question. I don't have to give you a full response right now. Check out this video. Check out this video. I've answered this question in detail. So that's something that I really recommend. The questions you keep getting, create video content to answer that question. And then when inevitably that question comes around again, you can answer it there. Another great way of finding content to create is, like you'd said, Cameron, bring on guests, collaborate with guests. Really great way of creating content. Or getting content ideas. And then the third suggestion I have, this is really, really practical. This is really tactical. It's go into Facebook groups that are in your niche, right? Whether that's, being a restaurateur or a digital media, whatever your niche is, you go into Facebook groups and you go through, what are the questions that people keep asking? I'm going to answer that question in a video format. And I'll tell you what, there is an infinite amount of content that you can create because it's always changing. But those are 3 quick tips I would give people if they're saying, well, what do I even post about? It's answer the questions that people are asking and be as concise and profound as possible. And over time, it's going to get better and better and better. And a shout out to Jacqueline Vasquez here in the comments. It's all about taking small steps. 100%.
Absolutely.
Baby steps over time add up.
Yeah, we got Oscar, Tim Colson, Jacqueline Vasquez all commenting here. Thank you guys for that. I want to get your questions. So if you have questions about how to set up your podcast, microphone, I was complimenting Mark's microphone setup, by the way. I think sound is one of those challenges that I still haven't completely mastered. For folks that think I sound great, thank you. For folks that understand there's probably something that I could be doing better to make this sound, I need your help. So let me know. But I really want, if you're trying to think through this, I know Mark has got great content. I was looking at a video on taking the next step on, and for me, because I know a lot of people will start on podcasts and then move to video, but I've done video and I'm thinking about, all right, so I want to be on podcast platform. I'd like to be a part of people's workouts and that sort of thing in their day. And that's a great way to be where people are with the podcast. And Anchor versus what is it? Sprout Buzz is it?
Buzzsprout. Yep.
Buzzsprout.
So I'm using Buzzsprout now. I really like that. But I think that what you're saying here, Cameron, is really smart, because now that you've already got an audience, you've already got the platform here, BizDev Live, really easy for you to take this content, repurpose it, and then bump it out everywhere. It takes time, it takes money, but there's ways you can optimize it. And again, it's a snowball. It grows over time.
Yeah, I know one of the challenges that's been on my mind is I've created all these episodes. And so my sort of hot take on it is that I will at some point either just start recording, these episodes as a podcast, get my audio to a point where I'm comfortable with it, and just start with whatever episode and start putting them onto a podcast. Or just do something completely different, maybe a shorter format, which, because I think an hour, I don't listen to very many hour-long podcasts. I listen to like 20-minute podcasts. So in terms of producing something that I would listen to, I'm still on the fence with it. And, maybe talking to you today, maybe will get me off the fence, but I know that a lot of people are probably in that place. Should I start a podcast? Should I not? Should I be on YouTube? What should I be using? How should I do it? What's the format? What should I be talking about? All that good stuff, right?
Well, the answer is you want to be on as many platforms as you can with as little time as possible, because let's face it, you're a business owner. You're trying to build a business. Your business is not sitting on YouTube and talking all day, right? So how can we pump out as much content as possible? Now, this takes time. It takes time. You're not going to wake up and be a master, and you're going to continue it. Like this microphone setup, I didn't start with this. I just continuously added on. I just added on this piece of equipment too, which I'm very excited about. This is a Rodecaster Pro. You can see it. And basically what this does is it helps me maximize my time. So now I can be doing live video just like we're doing now. I can be going live onto Clubhouse. We're going to be able to pump it out to all these different platforms. So again, a 30-minute conversation could be dozens of hours of content across 7 or 8 different platforms. And it only took me 30 minutes.
I got to ask this question. Do you just have a second one that you pull up for the demonstration there, or
no? Yeah, well, no, it's actually not hooked up yet. That's a whole nother story. It just came in the mail because again, we're constantly evolving. We're constantly getting better. The problem is it came with like a European style power adapter. So Rode is sending me the US style. So it's a good observation there. Yeah, it's just not hooked up yet. I mean, this setup that you're looking at right now is super simple. It's less than $100. It plugs right into my computer, USB. It's very, very simple. Very simple. Cool. And I have a video on my YouTube channel that kind of goes over the details.
All right, so note that I got to go find that one on audio. Thank you for that. We're worth the price of admission today. I appreciate that. So I know one of the other takeaways that we wanted to talk about, in terms of repurposing content, a lot of people are on Zoom these days. You specifically have some advice on taking some of that content that you may be creating one-on-one with people on Zoom and creating some anchor content with that. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. So this is why everybody should have a podcast. Even if you don't expect to make money off your podcast, it's the connections. Because honestly, Cameron, we just met like a few weeks ago, right? I don't know you. I'm growing. I'm meeting 1,000 people a week, so the fact that you have a podcast is the reason why we are now connected. If you didn't have a podcast, maybe we get on a 15-minute call. Maybe the problem with the 15-minute calls is generally when I get on a call with someone, all they want to do is pitch me something, but it allows you to give value to people. right? And that, that's a really, really powerful tool. You're going to be able to get connected to people. And so this is really the magic is you can actually reach out to people that are above your weight class, connect with them and learn directly from them. Not to say that I'm above your weight class or anything, but there've been people on my, like Pat Flynn.
Well, I think one of the things that's interesting, because I just want to speak to that, you're somebody that has a larger following on YouTube. And I talk to people that have less following than I do on social media. And I talk to people that have more following. Everybody's at a different place in their career. Right. So I think that, because I want to go back to another piece too, because I think in terms of networking, and if we can all remember pre-COVID when we actually went to events physically, if you ever went around and you're at a business conference and you're looking at somebody's name tag, or somebody's looking at your name tag, and based on what they perceive as your level in life or whatever by your position, and they sort of did, oh, okay, then they're off to the, anyone who's ever experienced that, you're missing an opportunity if they're that person, right? Because everybody brings a lot of life to play. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed, especially over the last year, but in networking in general, is I get to know people's story when I talk to them. I don't pitch them. I don't sell them. And it usually works out better than if I had tried to, right? I know everybody's like, oh, always be closing, always getting that sell, right? But the idea that if I learn about this person, one, I'll be able to sell to them better.
I mean, I think the new ABC is always be creating.
Everybody's got a different take on it. I was expecting that to go a different direction, because a lot of people are like, always be connecting, right? So there's always,
because this is what happens, Cameron, when you create and you provide value to people, the natural inclination is to reciprocate. It's like when you see somebody say hello, they're going to say hi back. So that's really the magic of podcasting and this video style podcasting. You're able to provide value to every single person that comes on your show, and they reciprocate it,
They do.
And it's very powerful, because now if Cameron calls me and said, hey, can I hop on a quick 10-minute call with you? I'll be like, sure, let's chat, Whereas before it really helps yourself to differentiate. And kind of back to your original question here with the Zoom meetings, everyone knows how to use Zoom, but not everyone knows how to repurpose that and maximize it. You could take that Zoom call and just throw it up on YouTube. There's nothing wrong with that. It's free. It's easy. It takes time. But you can also, if you really want to go deep with it, you can hire an agency like what I'm doing with Savant Media. You can build out your own team, like to your point. You need to have some sort of media content creation strategy. It's not optional at this point. You have to have a strategy. If you don't, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to be in big trouble.
Oh, yeah, I'll reinforce that point. This idea that every company needs to be a media company. I look at something like, and I know KeyBank is, I know for some of the folks, maybe you don't look at your business like as big as KeyBank, but the idea that in this day and age, there's somebody like a KeyBank where they have a marketing budget, but they're not taking advantage of YouTube and interviewing each of their business managers in each bank, having a show going every day where there's constant organic free content, right? All of these folks are paying for advertising. They're paying huge marketing dollars. And so for you as an entrepreneur, you as a business owner, for you to create something that's a part of your schedule. And I love, Gary Vee's take on it, document rather than, the whole kind of creation thing, because I think the creation thing is really useful. And especially if you're good at it, it's fantastic. It's amazing. You provide incredible value for folks. But if you look at it from a document, you're still creating, right? But if you look at it from a document, this is what we do. This is how we do it. And you give that information out to people. You bring so many people, because so few people, even if you give it away, right? Tell everybody every detail. Very few people are actually going to execute and do that. You just prove that you're a thought leader in that area, that you know what you're doing. You're building up that social case, right? I love that.
Well, it's to your point. I think when a lot of people think marketing, they think how much money am I going to spend on Facebook ads or on television ads or radio ads, right? To me, the new style of marketing is not that. It's finding ways to stay top of mind and to build yourself or your company as a thought leader in that industry. You're not going to get that from selling ads. You're not. the way you develop that is over time, you create more and more content that helps change people's lives. You impact people in a very direct and meaningful way, and you've built a fan for life. Kevin Kelly wrote an entire book on this. It's 1,000 true fans. And the quicker you can get your business that 1,000 true fans, I mean, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's so incredibly powerful. So finding ways to actually execute on that, not to sell people, but to provide them with value, they will reciprocate it. It will happen.
Well, I think, even for folks that are watching, we had Oscar, we had Tim in the audience. I know Tim is started to do some stuff on the media side. Jacqueline Vasquez has written a book. But some of the media stuff, I know Oscar's trying to put out video and media, and other folks that are going to be watching this where they are in it. I don't know that people have really created a schedule for it and put it into their system so that they're constantly creating. Right. I know for me, going back to 2009, I'd put some videos up on YouTube. Just no YouTube thumbnails, no keywords tagged or anything like that. And those videos, they were of students dancing in the nonprofit that I work with, that I'm currently on the board of, soundbusiness.org. And those videos generated 40,000 views over 10 years. There was nothing intentional really about what we were doing there. There was nothing consistent about what we were doing. They were just videos that we uploaded to the platform. People found them. There was interest around them. They generated a ton of views. Imagine if you're putting that intentionality, you're doing one video a week, one video a month, however you get with it, over time, it builds. And I love the idea of connecting right now to 20 years from now. I mean, that's a lot of what my life is about, because my story from high school, not graduating, having a kid at 19, I was not connecting the dots. I was not making decisions that really connected the moment to what I wanted, my lifestyle, my future, my impact on the world. So I think when people sort of connect that and understand that, then the whole media thing, and my company needs to be a media company, sort of makes a whole lot more sense. And Jacqueline says, I'll be putting out video, but need to work on the schedule. Absolutely.
I would like to address that, because that's something you just brought up as well, Cameron. And it's figuring out how I can create as much content as possible with the least amount of time investment as possible. And again, there's different ways to do that. I know a local financial advisor. He's a younger guy, but he's in the financial services industry. It's primarily dominated by older people who are doing things the old way. He's doing things the new way. And what he does is he's got a studio. He's collaborated with a local school, Florida Atlantic University. Shout out to all the owls out there. That's my alma mater as well. But anyway, what he does is he dedicates one day a week. That's it. It's one day. The rest of the week, he's working on his financial services business, but he commits one day a week to actually recording. So when he knows when he wakes up on this day, it's recording day. So it's a good idea, I think, to set up theme days. So you have a theme day where, okay, this is the day I'm working on. And that might not be every week. Maybe it's every couple of weeks, or maybe it's once a month, depending on how thoughtful and how strategic you are. And that's something I can certainly help with if you're looking at building that out. It could even be as simple as, like I said, sitting down for a half hour a week and just shooting some vertical style video and then shipping it out to an agency like Savant Media or to your virtual assistant to chop it up and reformat it and send it out there. So Jacqueline, I love where you're at. You're putting out the video, but working on that schedule, you'll get there. You just get a little bit better and you keep working on that. You'll definitely get there.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's one of those things that hopefully people will give you a call and start that inquiry process, because maybe pricing, maybe the virtual assistant doesn't work for you right now. Maybe working with an agency like yours doesn't make sense right now. But I think one of the things that has definitely been a elevation, you talked about the 4-hour work week and just getting the mindset around, I'm going to spend less time on stuff that I'm not passionate about and more time on things that I am passionate about. So building out in your schedule, I think things like headshots, I've made a commitment. I'm going to do those on a quarterly basis so that there's always fresh content in terms of images that I can throw up on the YouTube thumbnails. And if I'm thinking about my company as a media company, me as a brand, as somebody that's going to go out, forgive me for saying influencer or something like that, the idea that my look, my feel, what I'm putting out there is important. So putting that in terms of a budget together,
Right.
your video, your marketing. I mean, I think people understand marketing budget. So understanding that those pieces of it, whether it's the podcast, that these are things that need to be budgeted into your business and part of your pricing structure so that you can afford to do these pieces, because it's about the long-term growth. Capital savings, one of those business tips, like, yes, profit, but also capital savings so that I can afford these things down the road. So make the inquiry, know what it is, put it in next year's budget, get it done, right?
Well, and to your point, Cameron, there's two types of budget. There's your time budget and there's your financial budget, right? Hiring your own VA and building out your own team is going to be more cost effective from a dollar standpoint, but it's an immense time investment. Would you rather invest the time, or would you rather just pay someone who's already got it figured out and has the infrastructure? And that's something that's going to be different for everybody,
Yeah, and I definitely go for a little bit of a hybrid approach. I think for so many people, I think you're a trusted guy in the industry, and not everybody's going to get that perfect relationship. So maybe dipping your toes in, sort of understanding it. I think you probably appreciate that conversation with an entrepreneur that's been there, knows how difficult and challenging it is, and is happy to hand it off, versus somebody that's sitting there questioning every cent and penny because they're like, well, it's just editing a video.
Yeah. But it's tough too, Cameron, because I'll tell you what, there are so many sleazy agencies out there that all they care about is charging you top dollar, and they produce crap. They produce this generic bull crap. And I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Why don't you do this for me, which I think it would be really useful for everybody watching. What are the questions that you think are the impressive questions that you like to get that sort of differentiate, folks in the market, folks that know what they're doing versus folks that don't, so that, people understand that piece of it? What are things that, if you're going to an agency, if we're going to somebody like you, what are the questions that we should be asking to make sure that this person really can handle what we're asking to do in terms of producing a podcast or video content?
Yes, this is a great question. And I think the first thing you want to do is look at what they're doing. Gary Vee says all the time, copy what I do, not what I say, right? So look at what this person is doing. How does their social media platform look? How does their Instagram look? Is that something that you would want for yourself? And when I say, how does it look? I'm not saying how many likes are they getting per post, because that is a terrible, terrible way to determine someone's success, because you can buy likes for cheap. I know a guy who was building a fitness company. He had about 27,000 followers on Instagram. Every post, 1,200 to 1,500 likes and comments and what. And then one day, it was like a switch flipped, and all of a sudden he was getting 5 likes per post, because he was paying for ghosts to follow him, So you have to be very, very careful about that. Likes don't mean jack. It's what is the look, what is the vibe, and what's happening on the back end. The reality is, when you're working with someone, I would also be aware of guarantees. Anyone that's guaranteeing result, especially a quick result, is a bad idea. Now I'm at a point where I'm not even onboarding someone, a new client, unless they're committed to it minimum 2 months. You have to be committed to it minimum 2 months, because there's this period where you need to, where the agency itself needs to understand you. They need to understand your audience and kind of grow from there. So I'd be aware of guarantees, and I'd be aware of people that are just saying, look at my likes, look at my shares, look at all my followers. That's not a good indicator of what they're going to be able to do for you. And then obviously you want to look for referrals. Who have you worked with in the past? What other pages are you managing? Sometimes they're able to relinquish that, sometimes not. But I think those would be the things I would look at first.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation. I think there's a lot more value that we can provide. I loved getting some of the tidbits from you, Mark. You're awesome at what you do. I'm looking forward to getting into your YouTube. I highly recommend check out Mark Savant Media on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit those like buttons, help him out, getting his message out, because he's helping a lot of people get better at what he does. in addition to pumping out and helping entrepreneurs and business owners promote their brands. Please let everybody know where they can find you, Mark, and who really that you're specifically trying to connect with right now. And then I'll play us off with the BizDev theme. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Appreciate it, Cameron. It's been a pleasure. Please, anyone that is interested in connecting with me, you can find me at Mark Savant Media all over the web, marksavantmedia.com, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm all over the place. I would really encourage everyone as well. I mean, we didn't even get into Clubhouse today, but Clubhouse to me is a really, really, really exciting platform right now. It's a really great way for you to connect with me on Clubhouse and get like this one-on-one style conversation and advice. But listen, if you're someone who knows that and understands that you need to be showing up on digital media, but you're not sure how to execute on that, I can help you, whether it's on a coaching or whether it's on my content, all my free resources, or if you want someone to just handle it all so you don't have to worry about it, I can help you. Our team can definitely help you here at Mark Savant Media.
Love it. Thank you so much for being on the show. Mark, have the last word. Say goodbye to everybody.
Don't forget to be awesome.
Love it.
BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T.